Hello and welcome to episode 73 of the Boot Nerds podcast. I'm here with the famous JayMike, who, as you can see, has some video today, but there was a very positive reception I saw to the actual JayMike. I think people really liked it.
Yeah, the JayMike only. I think people actually enjoyed not looking at this for once. So yeah, I don't blame you. Maybe we should start doing that once in a while. Celebrate every 10th episode by just removing my face from the screen. I mean, that's a little treat to the regular viewers, I guess. So yeah, that I can also we can point the camera at just the boots if you just would rather see it.
It was really short notice when that happened. It was unfortunate that it happened, but I think next time what we should do is we get a life-size cardboard cutout of JayMike.
Ooh, yeah. And
we just record the footage for however long we need. And maybe you can stand behind and just listen to it and like move the cardboard cutout around so it's like appropriate to fit with everything.
Super, in general, be super creepy to have a cardboard cutout of myself just randomly sitting around in my studio. That would be, yeah.
That'd be good.
I'd be a happy taker. If anyone has like a cardboard cutout of me, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but I'll take it.
You know what I had as a kid? Just complete side topic. Completely
Why would you have
to this podcast.
You're going to say something really weird now, right?
Well, no, when I was a kid, there was this game store that I don't remember if they were closing down or they were just getting rid of stuff. But like way back in the day when you'd go into the game store, they probably still have it now, but they'd have like cardboard cutouts of like whatever the game was. And it was a cardboard cutout for, I think it was like Crash Bandicoot 3. And it was like a full-size 6-foot Crash Bandicoot. And they gave it to me. So I had it in my house for a little bit. I don't know, it made me think of that.
Okay, so what's gonna be in episode 80 is basically a cutout of Jay and then a cutout of Crash Bandicoot for Josh.
I would, what? I got space for a cutout of Crash Bandicoot. I'd have one in my basement right now. Why not?
Well, yeah, maybe it's time for another poo flood then, I guess. Just get rid of that. That sounds super creepy. But anyways, Josh, today we're doing something. It's almost become like a regular semi-annual thing here on the Boot Nerds podcast. We are going to rate the 5 best boots on the market at the moment because, a lot of news dropped. English, still difficult. A lot of new stuff has dropped, and we just figured that it would be nice to kind of rank it, see how it goes against the best boots out there. So as usual, if you have any comments, leave them down below. If you have any questions, you can also leave them down below. We're going to answer them as per usual later in the episode here. And in general, if you haven't already liked the video, go ahead and do that. And make sure you subscribe to the Boot Nerds podcast by clicking somewhere on your screen. And if you want to listen to this audio only because you don't want to look at this face, bootnerds.com is the place to go.
Yeah.
So there.
For sure. Yeah. So we have a list of top 5, what we believe are the top 5 best overall football boots, because I think that the opinions on this could vary definitely from person to person. But I feel like this list is made up of objectively good football boots, which are, I guess, reasons that everyone can agree with. And then there's also a personal preference aspect, as there should be with any kind of top 5, top 10 list. But there have been some new boots come out in the last several months where I think there's been some significant movement in the top 5 boots currently available list, which I figure we should discuss in this video. So
right.
I don't want to pressure ourselves to put this list in any kind of order, because I really don't feel like there's a genuinely like best boot on the market right now, unless you want to put it in order.
I mean, I've kind of made up the list in order, but I'm cool with just throwing out the best because, I'm actually I'm gonna be a little bit, I'm gonna potentially bring a change to the established list that what people might expect from me. So that's gonna be a little bit interesting. Something I've just made my mind up about very, very recently in the last couple of days almost. But yeah, that's gonna be exciting. But let's say we don't rank them, but still we start from like the bottom.
Okay.
Right.
And this is, I think this is the one where we didn't agree necessarily, where that 5th spot. So you could make an argument that this list is like a very clear top 4, and then the 5 is kind of interchangeable with a couple different options. But what do you have as your 5 spot, if you will?
I would have to go with the X 19.1s, and it was in a close race with the Copa 20 pluses. And as you all know, at least I have been a very big advocate for the Copa 20 pluses. I still think they're awesome football boots, but given the fact that new boots have come into the list, I just had to look myself in the mirror and say, okay, what would I take and wear for a match? And the answer to that question was the X 19.1. I simply feel that the performance in those are slightly better than in the Copas because of the laces. Now, don't get me wrong, the Copas are very good. They're super comfortable. The touch on the ball is so elegant. We've mentioned this 1,000 times, but because they don't have laces and although the lockdown is good, it's just better in the X's. Upper is super soft, very comfortable. Shape is good of the boot, very decent lockdown. It's just one of those boots it's really hard to hate on. And Adidas are going to have to do well whenever the next generation of the X comes out to improve, in my opinion, on the X. Of course, they can make it faster and a more, I would say, a strong and direct competitor, more dedicated competitor to the Vapor 13. But it's a very, very good football boot. That was a long rant, but go on.
I agree with you with your analysis of those two boots specifically, because I think the Copa 20 Plus is really good. I know that I've been pretty vocal about not being crazy about a lot of laceless boots, but that is, I think, far and away the best one that you can buy and one that I truly do enjoy wearing. But if you ask me to pick one to wear for the entire season, I'd probably pick the X 19.1. It's just so comfortable. They got everything right. And I think it's a good example of using modern tech, but also not overcomplicating a football boot with a bunch of gimmicky stuff. It does everything very well, and it's fairly priced and it's comfortable, and it's a solid pair of football boots.
With that said, I'd probably if we could take this, we could remove, this tongue and actually give us just a normal U-throat. That would probably be better for me. So give us the X 19.1, but with the tongue, the standard normal tongue that we saw on the X 99.1s. That would have been better for me, because it's still this kind of, what do you call it, bunches up a bit, crumbles over, you know what I mean. It falls in a weird way when it's on your foot, and it doesn't give you that completely smooth, silky smooth transition that you want, and that's a little bit weird.
Yeah, so, and I'll throw in some other boots that I had on my mind for this fifth spot, because I think they're really good. Puma Future 5.1.
Check.
For me, one of the most comfortable boots on the market right now, but also kind of similar to X 19.1 in a lot of ways, especially in terms of feel of the upper, in my opinion. I think the X is less bulky. It's a little lighter, feels a little more nimble, which is probably why I would rank it above the Future. And also, I think, if we really
with that said, Josh, I'm going to stop you. With that said, if you have a really wide foot, the Futures are probably should be on the list, because they are some of the best wide boot options out there. But I would say, unless you want a really roomy and very, very comfortable slipper-like boot, for me, they are on the chunkier side of what they should be.
Yeah.
Just a little side note.
That's true. And then if we're gonna consider boots like that in a top five, I think that there's a fair shout, depending on what you like, for the New Balance Furon V6. I think they did a lot really well with that boot. It's surely a top 10 option, I would say.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is crazy to say about a New Balance boot, because I don't think we've really been able to say that honestly for a little while.
Well, the Tequila ones were really good, and you could probably also argue that the Tequila 2 could be top 10. But I mean, I would even say this is top at least 7 or 8.
It's really good.
It's up there, right? If the Copa, let's say the Copa is 6, then I would probably consider having this as number 7 or 8.
And I don't want to spoil too many exclusions from the list, but I feel like if we don't mention them, people are going to get mad. I think Phantom Venom is still
absolutely
excellent. It's a fantastic football boot, and it's obviously the Mercurials are on this list, but I think it's a good alternative to that boot if you don't necessarily want a Mercurial.
Yeah.
And then Phantom Vision. I know that we've done our fair share of complaining about that boot, but it's good. It's a really solid, well-rounded boot.
but that's what we need to remember. We're not complaining about the Vision 2 because it's not a good boot. In fact, it's a great, very well-rounded boot, but it's just not special. It doesn't have that USP where I can wear it and think, okay, this is really something that I would go out, I would look at my boot wall, and I would take this, I would prefer this over other boots because it's just a little bit meh. And that for me has been the problem. But you're right, we have been slacking it off a little bit for not maybe being ambitious enough, if you know what I mean. That's been the major problem of the Vision 2. It's been great, it's fine, it's all good. It's hard to hate, to use your expression, but now I've just been missing a little bit, you know, and the same thing kind of goes for the Venom. Is like, would you take the Vapor? Would you take the Venom? I'd pick the Vapor. Yeah. So it's, you know, but there's no denying that those two boots, the two Phantoms, are very good. Absolutely. And would probably be on the list over the Tequilas, obviously, because they don't really. I
mean, we pretty well just made a top 10. So I guess if you want to consider this a top 10, we just named 10.
So what would we call it? Which boot would you rank higher out of the two Phantoms? So let's say, okay. So Copa 6, Furon 7. Should we have Furon 7? Nah, Furon 8. I would go with this. Copa 6, Venom 7, Furon 8, Vision 9. What's number 10? Platinums? King Platinums? Futures? Where's the future in all of this?
What about Venom?
Venom 7. So Copa
Venom
6.
7.
Venom
Copa
7.
6, Venom 7.
Furon 8.
Furon where?
8.
So you had Furon over Vision.
Yeah, probably. But now, from an objective point of view, okay, I get what you're saying. Vision 8, Furon 9, Future 10.
You know what? I think I would go, personally, I would probably go Venom 6, Copa 7, Future 8, Vision 9, Furon 10. I think that's what I would do.
And I think for me, the reason I'm putting the Furon that far down the list is because I'm not objective anymore. Like, the Furon is a great football boot, but it's just too wide for me to really enjoy it. So yeah, good job making a top 5 list, guys. We just turned it into a top 10 list, absolutely killing ourselves here. So anyways, back to the top 5. We have the X, I think we can say in 5th. I
agree with that, yeah.
Okay, so we can agree on that. For me, number 4 would have to be the Mizuno Regular made in Japan, the Regular 3, obviously, made in Japan's. I feel like, you know, it's been a while since they've launched, and maybe we haven't, you know, we've kind of just gotten used to them being there, being excellent, being above and beyond what you can expect, and perhaps being the best. Well, I think it's fair to call them the best modern heritage leather boot out there still.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it is, right?
For sure.
It has the best leather quality. The build quality is outstanding. You know, the fit is really good. Fits both yours and my feet, and they're, you know, slightly different in terms of width. It's just it's a fantastic football boot and such a well-rounded option. And yes, it's expensive, but in my opinion, it's also worth it. And it's one of those. The reason I rank it so highly is that the level of comfort you get in that boot is something that you'll struggle to find in any other football boot out there. For me,
yeah, no, they did a really good job. Although, I can't help but think now that we've been exposed to the Neo 3 Beta with that knit tongue. If you put that knit tongue construction on the Rebula 3, that would be sick.
Oh, don't do it to me. That would be actually that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Like what let's just put it this way. I'd pay a handsome sum of money to actually just see like a special edition Rebula 3 Beta.
Yeah. Imagine they replaced the tongue with some knit, and they replaced that midfoot material with that textile. Man, it'd be a solid boot. It'd be cool.
It would. Mizuno, as always, here's free advice. It's not free because we'll take 10%. But take our advice, please. Please do it. Okay, so that's 4th place. 3rd place is also going to be, I think, for me, relatively straightforward. And tell me if you agree or not, but I think you do. Predator 20.1 low.
Yeah, I mean that would be. We're gonna again. This list is in no particular order as far as the top 5 is concerned. I would probably, if it is in order, then I would put the Pred maybe a little bit higher for myself personally. But it's definitely a top 5 football boot for me.
Would it be a top 3 boot for you?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I would.
Okay.
I really hate putting stuff in order, but I
know.
definitely think that the pred is.
But the people are requesting it, Josh. They
are
want us
requesting
to rank it.
But because of recent releases, I'm a little bit confused as to what order to put them in, which is why I'm reluctant to do so. Because
Okay,
as you
fair
know,
enough.
Jay, once you say something on the internet, if you try to take it back,
sticks.
people get very angry at you. So
But
I'm
that
just
is
going.
the good thing. That is the good thing about the internet, because you're allowed to change your opinion.
Well,
And
I guess,
but listen, that's the thing.
Changing your opinion is a matter of opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, what I feel, and the reason I'm okay with actually changing my mind is that what we say in these podcasts and you know, on Unisport, on SR4U, is what we feel with the experience we've had the opportunity to have with the product. Like that's how we feel. That's the extent of our knowledge with this product. But you know, if we wear it for 3 more months, and you know, yes, that would be optimal to do in the first place before we give our opinion on it. But you know, that's not how the internet works. The internet wants to know ASAP right now. They want to know yesterday, right? So we can only tell them what we know at the time, and may, you know, once we spend more time with the product and we start to appreciate the finer details in it, maybe our opinions change. And I think it's only fair to be able to do that and not be, you know, people evolve, people change.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
the ideal world.
You said it there best, where it's like I really like the Neo 3 Beta. It just came out though, and I just, unless something is clear in a way better than everything else, I'm very hesitant to say that like right off the bat it's like my favorite. But
Gotcha.
I think if we want to put a number on Pred 20.1 low, for me it's 1 or 2. I just can't decide on where it is for me.
Fair enough.
But
So
I
for
think
you,
what's
number
cool
3
about
would
the
be
Pred.
Uh-huh.
What's cool about the Pred for me is that unlike every other boot on this list, it's just completely different. Right? I mean, you have technically a textile mesh-based material that doesn't really feel like a sock, like I think a lot of people would expect it to feel. It feels more like a thin synthetic in that it doesn't really have any softness or padding to it. But the added grip from the Demon Skin elements is just, there's nothing else like it right now. And I don't think there's going to be anything else like it for a long time. It's just, it's the X factor in that particular football boot. And to be fair, while I think it's objectively good in a lot of ways, it's also one of those features that I think some people would absolutely hate, depending on what your preferences are. So it is really a love it or hate it type element. But if you love it, I think that there's a lot to like about that boot.
I really agree. And, you know, it has to be the best. I think the most, well, for me, it's probably the best adidas boot they've made in a long time, because it's such a unique boot, but it's also, objectively speaking, very, very good. You know, the upper is nice, the lockdown is good, and you get you know, even though you don't really love the Predator element, it's not going to be that much in the way, but it's there. If you like it, you appreciate it, you get a lot from it. But it can also, you know, you can also ignore it if you choose to. At least just don't get the.
You think so, Jay? I think I completely disagree with you. I think when you're wearing a Pred versus any other boot on this list, you know it's a Pred.
Oh, absolutely. But
Right?
I mean, it's not, you know, the grip isn't too, I would say, you know, if you don't want the grip, don't get the Predator 20 pluses, because that is really a lot. But I think this is something, even if you're not going for the grip, it's something you could learn to live with. But I'm open to being proven wrong. Wrong.
For sure. No, you're right.
Yeah.
It does take getting used to. You will immediately, regardless of whether or not you're somebody that like thinks about your football boots while you're playing, the first couple times you wear the new Pred, whether it's a plus or a 0.1, you will notice that there is something physically different about these on the ball versus any other football boot, which is cool. And I think what's interesting about the football boot industry these days is every brand is trying to do something new and never been done before, and try to, I guess, cause a little bit of chaos in the market and spark intrigue with these new innovations. And out of any feature on any football boot right now, I think that's the most impactful in terms of what you can actually feel, which is, to me, why I kind of started getting into football boots in the first place. Is I was always curious about how one boot felt versus another. And that one is just so distinctively different from everything else, which for me, it's exciting when a brand can do that, but also make a boot good. Because you can make something that's distinctively different, but also not very good. And we've talked about a lot of these boots on the podcast before. It's another thing entirely to get it right, and they got it right.
And I agree with what you're saying, and I I understand where you're going with this, and I also understand why this would be, one or two on your list. And the only reason for me that it's, one of the reasons that it's not number one or number two for me is simply that it fits me really well and I enjoy wearing it, but the fit for me is just better, if you know what I mean, in number one and two for me. And at the end of the day, despite all the technologies that can, make you feel better, when it comes down to it, if for me, the best fitting boot is probably also the boot that I'm going to like the most. Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree with you 100%. That's super important.
Yeah, but you're right in saying that the Pred has really succeeded in making something truly unique, using innovation to do good and not just pull a New Balance and use innovation from 4 years ago and thinking that it's going to be, cause chaos. It's also causing chaos, but probably not in the way they intended. Yeah, shots fired at the Tequila 3.
Those are huge shots fired.
That's a problem with the Tequila 3s because it's not a bad football boot. It's just not mind-blowingly good either. And like if you have to challenge Adidas on their, the technology they came out with 4 years ago, you have to be bloody good. And he's not.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're not. I'm not.
I'm sorry. I'm just that's my new Phantom Vision. I'm just a little bit mad at it because it could have been so much more, but it's just like
Yeah, they've definitely played it as safe as possible, that boot, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, but we move on to the top two. At least for me, we have two boots we need to still talk about. And I think you can probably all guess what they are. Neo 3 Betas and the Vapor 13s. Now, this for me is where it gets tricky. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about this, but I have been in a huge dilemma over the past couple of days, also recording a Vapor 13 versus Morelia Neo 3 boot battle video for Unisport, really having to make up my mind, okay, what do I actually feel here? And, there's no denying that for me, the Vapor 13 is one of the best boots we've had on the market for, ages. Since it came out, basically. So not ages, but for a long, long time. It's the best Mercurial ever made for me. And it does so many things right. It's comfortable, it fits you well, it's lightweight, close to the ball, has great lockdown, is super aggressive. It's a very complete football boot. And that would make it an easy winner. And it was before when Mizuno had the Morelia Neo 2s and the Neo 2 Betas out, but then they made this. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky for me because as a speed boot, I think I like the Vapor 13 more because of the outsole and the aggressive traction you get and the overall responsiveness. But I think as a football boot, trying to be objective here, I think this is better. Because, is the comfort better? I reckon. Is the fit going to be appealing to slightly more people? I think so, yeah. And I know it's a little bit weird to say, but for me, this truly feels like it disappears on my foot. And while the Vapor is also very, very comfortable, I feel, it gives you this, you slightly feel more of that hold, that, the presence of the boot around you. And I didn't in this. New Last is absolutely perfect. It just really blends with your foot, this one. And that's something I truly enjoy. And the fact that it's also lovely on the ball and gives you everything that the Vapor does in terms of this barefoot-like feel, it's, this might actually edge it for me as the best general football boot right now. As weird as it's not weird because Mizuno make brilliant football boots. And I'll stop ranting in a second. But, it's very, very close for me. And it depends really on my mood on the day of what I'm going to prefer, I think, but I gotta acknowledge that what Mizuno have done with the Neo 3 Betas is very, very good, and in some ways better than on the Vapor.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're two of the best speed boots currently available, for sure. And I think they're hard to compare to each other because while they're both effective at a lot of things, they're able to achieve those performance, I guess, characteristics in very different ways, right? Because nothing really feels like a Mercurial and nothing really feels quite like that Neo 3 Beta. So they're very distinctive in that way. You have a hard time choosing between those two. For me, it's a very simple choice. If I'm picking between those two, I would prefer to wear the Beta. I just find it more comfortable. I prefer the leather. I prefer the flexibility of the boot. It's the clear win. If I have to wear them, it's the clear winner for me over the Mercurials. As much as I think the Mercurial is fantastic, it's not necessarily my cup of tea. My struggle in picking like a one spot on this list would actually be between the Neo 3 Beta and the Pred 20.1 Low, which doesn't make any sense because they're completely different in almost every single way.
But that's the thing. I think it does make sense because, when it comes down to it, it's about fit and how you feel in the boots. And then it's all about, what you want as a player. The question I want to ask you is, what do you think, like from an objective point of view, more people would choose if we disregard, marketing and brand status, brand value? Which as a football boot do you think more people would choose as the best football?
Look, if for me, because I think this is an interesting argument to have because I think people always, regardless of whether or not you think you do, you have a bias when it comes to picking between two football boots or multiple football boots. There's always something that's going to draw you to a boot for whatever reason that has nothing to do with how they actually fit on your feet. Before you've put them on, you're drawn to something for whatever reason it might be. So if we get rid of that element of it and you just had somebody in a store knows nothing about football boots, you put them on their feet, you put a Pred on one foot and the Neo 3 Beta on the other foot, I have a hard time believing that the majority of people aren't going to say that the Neo 3 Beta feels better on their feet. And it's just...
That would be my assumption too.
Yeah, like it would just be a hard argument to make for me for people to suggest that the Pred is more comfortable or feels better on feet.
Right. And I agree with you. I straight up agree with you. Now the question would be, what do you prefer? Like, what would you rather wear if you had to go to a match right now?
See, and that's the thing. If I have to wear them in a match right now, I think I'm going for the Betas. And you said it really well. And this was kind of the same analysis I feel like we had for the Neo 2 Beta, is that it's really the only football boot that you can put on your feet and you forget that you're wearing them. You're just playing. They're there. They exist as an extension of your body. And I realize that the marketing of these companies is like, oh, you need a collar, you need to knit it up, or you need all of these things in order to achieve this sensation. But you're not truly achieving it unless the boot is really comfortable. That's what allows it to disappear on your foot. And it's a very different philosophy versus the Mercurial, because I think you can get that sensation, but you're right. You're always aware that it's squeezing your feet. It's attached to your body. It doesn't ever disappear. And some people like that sensation. There was a time in my life where I really liked that as well. But I think what's interesting about our perspective is that we're always wearing new boots. And there's always this issue of, okay, does this feel good? Does this feel bad? Am I getting a blister? How does this compare to other boots? And it's something that it's always in the back of your mind. But I think you put on a boot like a Neo 3 Beta and it's like, oh, this just feels right. And there's nothing that you don't need to compare it to anything. It just, you forget about it and you play. And that very few football boots are able to achieve that.
And that's maybe the most important thing to look for in the Neo 2s and to some extent the Neo 2 Betas. There were these, the toe box was relatively low and it was something you had to live with. There was, there were things that you had to get used to. And there isn't on the Neo 3 Betas for me. The outsole could be more aggressive and, it would feel more raw. But that's the thing I love about the Vapor. You feel that the boot is there. You feel the hold. You feel the pressure. You feel the lockdown. You feel how it's like aggressive and it does something to your head. You feel on, I don't want to say you feel on something, but it feels a little bit unfair because you're wearing something that truly enhances the sensation of being fast. Whereas the Neo 3 Beta is just eliminates the feeling of wearing anything. And, man, I know we're rambling, but again, it depends on the day and what I want. But I think as a football boot, as a comfortable boot in general, maybe I'd choose the Neos.
Yeah.
Ridiculous
for me, I'd pick the Neo over the Mercs every time.
Okay. Nike, step it up. Step it up.
Can I just say as well, because I feel like we're often accused of praising Mizuno a little bit too much. I don't think the Neo 3 Beta is perfect. And I've already, after a couple days of reflecting, there's already one little thing that I would definitely change. And it has to do with the way they did the one-piece construction. And look, a lot of football boots do this. The Mercurial does it the exact same way, and I'd probably make the same change on the Mercurial. Remember, the Vapor 10 and the Vapor 11 had a one-piece upper, different material, obviously, but they had a split for the top 2 and 3 lace positions on either side. And what I think that allowed for, given that you put the lace holes in the proper spot, ideally a little bit further back towards the ankle area, is it stops the little edges of the start of the ankle from flaring out a little bit, which you get on the Neo 3 Beta. You also get on the Mercurials. You get it on pretty much any boot that has this one-piece upper construction, but I guess it doesn't look as sleek as just making it one piece like they've done, which is probably the reason why they haven't done it. And it's definitely more complex to make, but that would be one change that I would make just to allow the boot to fit even that much more close at the front part of your ankle.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect. No boot will ever be, but I see where you're coming from. And yes, there's room for improvement, but it's just such a big leap forward for me that, yeah, they've really hit the.
I want to bring up one other thing too, because I think when I weighed them, I was kind of half expecting the Neo 3 Beta to be significantly lighter than Neo 2, and it wasn't.
They're not.
It's not even lighter than Neo 2 Beta, I don't think.
No, it's not.
So it's gained a little bit of weight. It's like we're talking like 10 grams. It's like
I think it's like 205 grams now in the size 42.5.
Something like that. I can't remember what my per weighed in at. It doesn't matter. It's not as light as the Mercurial statistically. But I think the one thing that is often overlooked when it comes to weight is the comfort side of things. If you can make a boot 4 ounces, but if it feels like you have nails on your feet, then the weight almost becomes, it doesn't give you that effect of forgetting the boots are on your feet in the first place.
Yeah. Was the Evo Speed SL comfortable? No, it wasn't.
No, not really. Right. So I think that the sensation of the boot being so comfortable and really feeling like it's part of you adds to the effect of the boot being lightweight. So even though on paper it's not as light as some other speed boot alternatives, some that we've named in this video, it feels equally as light, if not lighter, because of the combined elements that it has and the way that it fits.
Because it simply interacts with the foot better for me, and that is perceived lightness. Maybe that's more important than actual weight.
That's what you just said.
That was really clever, wasn't it?
The way you just said it, the way it interacts with your foot. I think that's something that's often overlooked when it comes to football boots, where you design this thing off of someone's foot and you put in all these features that theoretically should make for objectively great performing football boots. But then when you actually put it into practice and wear the boots, there's restriction that comes along with structure. And yeah, you could make something super responsive like we saw Nike do with early versions of the Superfly, objectively great performing boots, but the way that they interact with your feet is awful.
Yeah.
Right? So that's I think what Mizuno got really, really right with the Neo 3 Beta.
Okay, let's close the list there. I'd actually love to hear what you guys think, because again, you said, yeah, we really pour a lot of love on Mizuno, but most of our regular listeners have actually tried Mizuno boots and they understand why we appreciate them. But if you have any comments, let us know in the comment section right down below. We're more than open to criticism and suggestions and other arguments. So that's some of the things we love. So let us know in the comment section right down below. And now it is time for the Q&A section. We do have a little bit of time left for that. Josh, let me start with a question here from Spencer T. Hi, Boot Nerds. Love the podcast. Thank you very much. I have a pair of SG Pro Hypervenom 1s I'd like to wear on FG. I know Adidas sell FG screw-in studs for SG boots, but Nike don't. Do you know if any Nike-compatible FG screw-in studs? Have you ever taken a pair of SG boots and converted them to FG? I've never done it.
I have. I have. So I had,
Why?
This is like way back in the early days of SR4U, and there might be a video. I don't know if I ever made a video about it. Maybe I did. I'm sure I wore them in a video, but I had a pair of T90 Laser 4s that were Soft Ground Pro. It was would have been the Euro colorway. Yeah, the Euro Clash Pack colorway. So the half white, half green.
Weren't any Soft Ground Pros around back then, were there? Weren't they just SGs back then?
No, they were Soft Ground Pro. That was when Soft Ground Pro was becoming a thing.
Laser 4s?
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah, I still have them too. I would go get them, but I'm horribly disorganized. But anyways, I got these studs and yeah, I got these studs. I think they were from, do you say Unisport or Ulsport? How do you say it?
Ulsport, they're German.
Ulsport. Okay. So I had a pair of like nylon screw-in studs from then. Of course I'm right, Jay. I'm never wrong. Yeah. But I threw those in there because I just really wanted to wear them. And does it work? Yes. Is it comfortable if you're not on soft ground? Absolutely not. The way that soft ground boots are made with the studs to screw in, if the ground isn't legitimately soft underneath your feet, you feel all of those screw in points regardless of what the material of the studs are. And ultimately the studs always end up being too long anyways. It's just, it's not a good situation. It is potentially damaging to the boots because it's very hard impact on those actual screw in points because it's not made to be kind of pounded on hard ground. It's meant to sunk into a soft ground. So if at all avoidable, I would just avoid doing that. It's not a great idea.
Tried it either, but I would guess that it's not the optimal solution. And I know you wanna wear them, but maybe don't.
Like, look, there was one shoe that tried this and it was wildly unsuccessful because of durability, and that was the F50 Knit series.
Yeah, it was really work.
Also wildly uncomfortable because of this. It's just not a good idea. Let's just say that.
Nah, I'd probably stay away from it. Saint Leopold, what's the top 5 synthetic upper materials of all time? A listing: Teijin, Hypertouch, Sprintweb, Nike Skin, Adidas Sprint Skin, or the old K&G Wanhana.
That's a tough question. Let's just narrow it down to our personal favorite synthetic uppers ever on a football boot. That does no knits and no mesh.
Okay. Fair enough. I would say the Teijin, Teijin, whatever it's called, that was on the Vapor 11. That was pretty good. Obviously Hypertouch, Kangalite, K&G 100, maybe, but it's probably, if they could do a modern version of it, yeah. What else? Nike Skin? Is that really a synthetic? Unless we go back in time to the Vapor 1? Probably.
That doesn't, yeah.
Well, Hypervenom was Nike Skin as well.
Yeah, but that's mesh. It's cheating.
True.
It's cheating. I think for me, like standouts, aside from some of the obvious ones, I really liked Maestri 1. I really liked Maestri 3. Something about Maestri 2 didn't feel as magical to me. I don't know why. I think that they seem to thin out Maestri 2 Kangalite ever so slightly over 1, and I think it just lost some of that natural sensation. Vapor 8 for me, I really like that upper.
So that was the OLM 15, I think, the Teijin OLM 15.
Whatever the code associated to it was, which I'm surprised that they would even. I still don't understand why they got rid of that entirely. It just seems like it's a good idea.
It was good, yeah. I agree.
But those are the two that stand out. And then Hypertouch on any of the LZ or Instinct Predators and the 2014 F50. I think those are all really good synthetic uppers as well.
Yeah. Adablite on the Evo Powers, especially the Vigorous.
That was really good as well. You're right.
Man, yeah.
That's a good call.
And maybe the whatever it's called on the Tequila ones. I really enjoyed those as well. That
was okay.
Yeah.
That was okay for sure. That answers that one.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're good.
Nice. Reno Wigger, when you say go down half a size, JayMike, do you mean Europe, UK, or US size? Well, when I went down in the Morelia Neo 3s, and I think that's what you're referring to, I went down half a size, and that applied to both Europe and US and UK sizes. So I went down from my UK 6 to a UK 5.5, and yes, that is very tiny, but that also took the US and Europe sizes down half a size.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Wait, just for my own clarification, you can go half, because if you wore a 42, you can get a 42.5.
Yeah.
Or does it jump right to 43 sometimes?
Well, sometimes, and that's a little bit weird. The European sizing system
I guess half a size always means just down the next lower size.
Exactly. That's what
Yes.
I mean. You go down half a size, and typically, when you talk European, but especially when you talk US and UK sizes, you go down to the next available, and that is half a number. And it's always usually half a number on European sizes. In Adi, it can be a little bit different because you talk 1/3 and 2/3. But yeah. And going down half a size in Japan sizes, for instance, meaning going down 5 millimeters. So going from 250 to 20 to 245.
Yeah. Okay, I need to ask you a question now because I feel like you would know the answer to this.
Go ahead.
Why Adi? Because this has always confused me. Every other brand that makes football boots, if it's a US 9, it's a UK 8. It's like a one size conversion. But Adi insists on being a US 9 and a UK 8.5. Like, why? I don't like whose decision is this? What is the reason? Is this them just trying to be like, hey, look, we're different than everybody else?
I think it's a German thing. Because Puma are also doing this.
No, Puma is the same as Nike. It's a full size difference between full number difference between US and UK.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't know why Adi's like that. Do you know? I'm just asking if you know. If you don't know, it's fine.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know why that's so. The whole sizing, size conversion thing is still after all these years, it's still confusing to me. I've just learned to navigate it basically to find my right size.
Yeah, for sure.
But if anyone out there let us know.
Let us know. But that's why I've always said that I feel like US sizing is the most consistent across the board in terms of what the number represents.
I would agree with you, but I also disagree. Because I think the easiest size to go for is actually the Japanese size, because that is a representative of your actual foot size. It's just your foot size in millimeters. So if you know that, go for your Japanese size, and in most cases, you should be good. Yeah. So my foot, for reference, this is a 250. That is the size I got initially off the Morelia Neo 3s, and that is my usual 250. So my foot is like 248 millimeters long. So I usually go with the 250, and it's most of the time spot on. But because it runs a little bit big, I actually had to go down to a 245. And although my foot is technically a little bit bigger than that, I haven't had any issues. And the leather stretches nicely. So that is the boot for me. I would ideally need a 247.5, but you can't get everything you point at. So
okay, you know what? Now that you say this, because I knew that this was a thing. It's just the only reason with trying to recommend people what to get the Japanese size is it's often difficult to find out what the Japanese sizing charts are. Yeah. That's why it's like I can't really. Ideally, I'd like to use that, but wouldn't it be like revolutionary for like one of these? I guess a large shoe company would have a hard time doing this, but you literally have on your website a print-out chart with a measurement that you can just sit your foot on, and it literally gives you the measure in millimeters or centimeters or whatever measurement unit you want to use. And based on that, it tells you what size you need. Wouldn't that just be like revolutionary rather than using this like standardized sizing thing that clearly is so... Because I understand why it's like, why would I need a 9 in this shoe and a 9.5 in this one, maybe a 10 in this one? Like, wouldn't it just be so much simpler for people? And wouldn't you just sell more product if they could just confidently buy the size that they need?
Especially online. I mean, you can't go and try it until you get it. So yeah, I definitely agree.
That would be revolutionary.
I agree. And we've done what we can at Unisport. We measure all the like top level boots to kind of So we have a size chart for all of them. So you can measure your foot and see, okay, if it's that long, this is the size you want. But still, it's not, you still got to measure your foot. So it's a little bit of manual labor. It would be nice if you could just go and do it. But yeah, so make it happen, brands, please. One universal sizing for everything. That would be so much easier, especially in Europe. Yes, we got UK sizes, Europe sizes, and now also if we want to do Nike US sizes. And all of a sudden Mizuno comes in and does Japan's. Are you kidding me? Anyways, Marcus Allison, do you think if Adidas released SL versions of their current lineup, they would be successful? And if so, what would you most want to try?
I think they would be successful pending that they didn't charge $350 like Adi likes to charge on limited edition boots lately. And I'm also of the opinion as much as I like a lot of the sole plates they make right now, I think that they could do with putting the speed frame / sprint frame from the X on all of the models that aren't an X, and they would instantly be better.
Wow. Okay.
I think that's fair to say.
I would want to try the Copa with the X tooling on. That's what I want. That or the Messi Gambit tracks outsole, because that's one of the best. But yeah, hell yeah, I'd want to buy it. Pred 20.1 SL, yes please. Copa 20 plus SL, oh hey, oh yeah. I'll take 10%, make it happen. I'd skip the 10%. I just want it to happen. See, Adi, now we got a deal. Yeah? No.
It's a free idea. To be fair, Jay, you are taking the idea of a commenter on YouTube, so...
Chef.
Just saying.
Ryan Garner, is the Mizuno Morelia Neo 3 the new norm for ultimate comfort? If not, what is?
I think it's probably the most comfortable, like modern style football boot, but I still think that stuff like no one's talking about the Zero. That's I mean, if you want comfort, that's a good boot. I mean, any classic Morelia is great. I still think that a classic Copa Mundial is super comfortable.
Yeah.
I think the Nike Premier is a great, like anything that's just like a simple leather upper is still kind of, in my opinion,
Puma
once you break
Future.
that in, like that's the gold standard in comfort. Like nothing's like a well broken in leather boot that just moves so naturally with your feet. Right?
I think if we're talking that classic leather slipper-like comfort, you can't beat, the Morelia 2s, the Zeros, to some extent the Copa Mundials, and the Puma Futures. I guess it's...
Yeah, Puma Future is really good.
Yeah. I mean, it has a lot of flaws for my foot, but it's really comfortable, so I guess there's no problems there. A final question here, and we can make this quick so we don't waste people's time. From Julian, what? Julian, I guess it's Julian Janes. See, this is a clever guy. So he's probably called Julian Gaines, and he's called himself Julian Janes. Because you get it? Your names?
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah, okay.
Clever.
Yeah. It took me a while to realize. Okay, anyways, are you guys going to talk about the new Under Armour boots that just dropped?
I was supposed to be prepared for this. I left them over there.
Oh, mate.
1 second.
So the reason why we haven't talked about Under Armour boots, and we've been appreciating Under Armour boots previously. The Magnetic Pros were really good. The clutch fits also, nice boots. But personally, I haven't tried them. I mean, we don't sell Under Armour boots at Unisport. They don't send me Under Armour boots. So I haven't had the chance to try them. Now Josh had them. And we just decided, let's just go over them. I think the new are they called Magnetico? What are they called? Again, something with
It says Magnetico.
Is that it?
I'm not sure. I have to read the box because quite frankly, I'm not sure. But Under Armour, believe it or not,
clones.
Viewers
clones,
of this podcast know.
Magnetico clones, I think. Anyway.
Let me check the box.
You didn't bring the box? Amateur.
You're correct. It is clone.
Wow.
Clone Magnetico Pro. So, for the record, The reason why Under Armour boots have not been reviewed by either of us as of late is because I mean Jay's at Unisport.
Yeah.
And
I just explained it to them basically. You didn't probably.
Right.
Didn't
You're
hear,
going to review boots that Unisport sells.
Yeah.
And
that's
Under
it.
Armour, up until this point, has not really had any bestsellers, I guess we can call it. So the way retail works, if you owned a store and you had the option to carry a bunch of different products, you're probably going to want to carry the products that are selling the best. So if they're not selling very well, then you're probably going to be less inclined to carry them over extended periods of time. And that's basically what has happened with Under Armour. And again, whoever's running their marketing, I don't quite understand, because they kind of just disappeared and now they're sort of coming back, but still it's very unclear as to what's going on. Believe it or not, Under Armour did send me their latest boots. I literally just got them today before we started this podcast. So I know very little about them. I haven't even had them on my feet yet, but they're drastically different from the previous Magnetico, despite bearing the same name.
They look really
knit,
plush and soft, and
it's
shape
really
is a little
interesting.
weird,
I guess
but
very general initial opinion is it kind of reminds me a little bit of the original Tequila from New Balance, which is a good and or bad thing, I guess, depending on what you like. I really like the original Tequila, so I'm somewhat optimistic. It kind of has this weird kind of
Clown shoe
upward
shape
banana
to it,
curve to the toe, which is kind of strange. But the material is soft. It's got this weird kind of almost slippery kind of plasticky coating on the surface, but I believe it's a knitted upper all the way through, or at least it's kind of like a mesh. It's almost Hypervenom Phantom 1-esque in terms of how it's constructed. I don't think it's the best looking boot, which I think is always a criticism that Under Armour has with a lot of their products. I'm just more surprised that they sent them to me.
Heel looks super bulky.
Yeah, it's got an odd shape to it, but I mean, in terms of like feel, the materials are nice.
I mean, if I had them, I'd try them and be very open. I mean, they don't look bad, but they don't look mind-blowingly good either. They look a little, I'm slightly skeptical, but I'd love to try them. So Under Armour, if you're watching, probably not, but if you're watching, hook a brother up. So yeah. But I'm excited to hear what you have to say about them, and I expect a review to go up on your channel when you've had the opportunity to try them out. And if you guys want to see that review, well, you can go and subscribe to Josh's channel if you click the link and the button round about his face. You can also go and see what we're up to at Unisport. Although we don't review Under Armour products, we review a lot of other good stuff. Click the green bubble close to my face. And of course, if you haven't done so already, go and subscribe to the Best Boot Podcast on YouTube by clicking the white bubble in the middle of the screen. Remember to leave us a like and a question right down below. And with that said, I'm JayMike and I approve this message. Ciao.
Later.